Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Sheikh Mohammed Jisan, ID 192111030. My research topic is the impact of port characteristics on international maritime transport cost. Today, I am excited to share findings from a study based on how different port features affect the cost of shipping goods. The research presents findings based on empirical research focusing on the impact of various port characteristics on international maritime transport costs among 16 Latin American countries. The study utilizes a database of 75,928 observations covering most intra-Latin American trade routes for containerizable goods in 2002. Regression analysis includes traditional determinants of maritime transport costs along with 6 indicators related to port characteristics. The research reveals that indicators linked to port efficiency, infrastructure, private sector involvement, and interport connectivity significantly affect international maritime transport costs. Notably, the study suggests that port efficiency has the most substantial impact among the port-related variables studied. It is found that doubling port efficiency in a pair of ports has an equivalent effect on international transport costs as halving the distance between them. Moving into the next part, which is the background of the study. The focus of the research is on understanding what factors influence the cost of shipping goods internationally, particularly by the sea. Transport costs play a significant role in global trade, with ports being critical in shaping these costs. Previous studies have highlighted that transport costs represent a substantial part of overall trade cost. Factors like distance, geographical characteristics, country-specific elements impact those things. The research underscores the importance of infrastructure, trade partner capabilities, and port efficiency in determining transport costs. By analyzing data from numerous trade transactions in Latin America, the study looks at various port characteristics such as infrastructure efficiency, privatization, and connectivity, aiming to understand how they affect transport expenses. The findings suggest that while the relationship between port features and transport costs are complex, improvement in port efficiency, infrastructure, and private sector involvement and connectivity tend to reduce overall international maritime transport costs. Into the next part, which is the methodology. Now, how we'll introduce this part. The analysis aims to understand what influences maritime freight costs between countries. It considers various factors like the type and the value of goods, distance, volume, and trade balance and port characteristics. Specific variables are chosen based on the relevancy in previous studies. For example, factors like being landlocked or political alliances don't apply to this set of countries. Other variables such as vessel flags or political affiliations were excluded as they didn't show a significant impact in our research. Additionally, variables like fuel prices or charter rates, which change over time and are not related to the specific ports or trade routes, were not considered. The model used logs most non-binary variables to improve the statistical fit and allow for interpreting results as elasticities. Different constants for various commodity groups and the USD value per ton of cargo are included to capture the effect of type and value of goods. Distance between main ports and transaction volume and total trade volume and trade balance between countries are accounted for to represent distance, economies of scale, and trade relationships. And if we consider the database and the detailed model are explained in the section 3 of the analysis in the paper. Into the next part, which is the data collection. After completing the variable collections, we need to collect the data from various countries. The analysis involves examining factors influencing maritime freight costs between countries. It employs a dataset of 75,928 observations based on complete and relevant information, considering trade transactions and containerizable goods among 7 importing and 16 exporting Latin America countries. The dependent variable, such as freight, is the logarithm of maritime transport cost reported by the custom authorities for individual trade transactions between these countries. If we consider the variables include, the first is type and value of the commodity. Different goods have varied freight charges based on value and type. Constants for different commodity groups and the value per ton of cargo are considered. If we talk about the distance, freight costs tend to increase with distance travel. The analysis incorporates the logarithm of maritime distance between the main ports of the importing and exporting countries, and variables capturing total trade volumes between countries and the volume of individual transactions account for economies of scale in maritime transport. Trade imbalance between countries can impact freight cost and considering the volume of imports versus exports. Into the fifth part, which is port characteristics, indicators for port infrastructure, efficiency, private sector participation, custom delays, general transport infrastructure, and their quality. Interport connectivity are also assessed for the influence on freight cost. Moving to the next slide, which is the empirical results, at the same time, interpretation of the results. Empirical results shows us the study introduces 5 variables as fundamental factors influencing international maritime transport costs, which are tons, value per ton, distance, uh, bilateral volume, and balance route. It categorizes goods into 3 groups based on their likelihood of being containerized and further distinguish between different constant value for major commodity groups. 6 models are developed to analyze these factors. All models exhibit estimated parameters with expected signs and statistical significance. And if we look at the model one in the research paper, we can consider in the interpretation of the result, which already shown in the chart, the section examines various determinants of international maritime transport costs, offering estimations and insights into their impact. In the first point, type and value of the commodity, which is clearly shown in the chart, that the commodity's type and value significantly affect freight rates. The elasticity for value per ton is estimated at 0.34. For instance, a 1% increase in unit value leads to a 0.34% rise in freight. The overall impact on freight experiences due to the variable is notably high. Also, the distance elasticity is 0.37, suggesting that a 1% increase in distance also has raised in the economies of scales, also has shown tons of values in the shipments. Also, trade balance has the balance route impacts freight rates positively. In the variables related, port infrastructure and efficiency significantly affect freight cost. In the sixth position, general transport infrastructure has also related to the variables. Port privatization, customs delay, interport connectivity are also there. And if we consider this statistical explanation, our next and last portion of this research paper discussion will be the discussion and conclusion. This passage highlights the significant impact of port efficiency improvement on reducing international maritime transport costs, efficient ports, and cost savings. And also, the empirical findings are suggest that port improvements have a measurable impact on reducing maritime transport costs. Factors like port infrastructure and private sector participation and interport connectivity contribute to cost reduction. Notably, port efficiency has the highest impact among the variables studied, even surpassing the impact of distance. This will also help the policy makers to influence in the future to change their method of effects on transport cost as halving the distance and between ports. Also, import and export experts are also a part of this freight cost more than the export sections. And model interpretation have developed explain a significant portion of freight variance, which is 40 to 50%. But fluctuations in freight rates throughout the year and the absence of time-related data might count for the remaining variance. If we talk about the broader impact, the impact of port efficiency extends beyond reduced transport costs, improve port services, and attracting more liner services and cargo, leading to further reductions in freight rates. Lower transportation costs stimulates increased trade volumes, generating more economies of scale and reduce freight charges. And the last point, which is role of port improvements. Port enhances are crucial for achieving cost savings and enhancing trade competitiveness, as most determinants of international maritime transport costs lie beyond the policymakers' control. In essence, improvement in port efficiency play a vital role in achieving cost reductions, boosting trade competitiveness, and generating dynamic effects that extended beyond directly measurable reductions in transport costs. Thank you everyone for listening to me.